Biff sat at his kitchen table long after the sun had gone down. The room was quiet, but his thoughts were loud. He had just come from another difficult conversation with his teenage son, and once again it ended with frustration. Biff prayed earlier that morning, asking the Lord to help him respond with patience. But when his son spoke harshly, Biff's temper rose. Now, replaying the moment, he sensed the weight of failure and the sting of discouragement. "Why can't I get this right?" he muttered. He knew Jesus' words, "If you have faith as a mustard seed," but it seemed his faith was far too small to move even the smallest mountain in his home. In truth, Biff wasn't struggling with the size of faith. He was struggling with the focus of his faith. His trust, like the disciples in Matthew 17, wavered between reliance on Christ and confidence in himself. He prayed, but often expected his strength or his effort to do the changing. When that failed, he concluded that his faith was far too weak or too small. But Jesus never rebuked his followers for not having enough faith. He rebuked them for having little faith, meaning distracted or doubting or self-reliant faith. Bill's struggle wasn't unfamiliar to the Lord. Jesus understands how easily our hearts drift from dependence on Him. The problem was not that Bill's faith was too small, but that it was misdirected. He trusted the process of his parenting. He trusted in his own abilities rather than the person of Christ. He wanted transformation, but he tried to manage it on his own terms with his own methods. Mustard seed faith, however, is also small, but the difference is it is alive in God. It begins where self-reliance ends. It is faith that, though limited in size, is rich in dependence. When Biff chooses to believe that God is working, even when progress seems invisible, his faith, like that tiny seed, takes root and grows. The seed's power is not in its size, but in the life that God has placed within it. This week, Biff decided to change his prayers. Instead of asking God to make things easier, he began asking God to make his heart simpler. "Lord, help me to depend on you and not on myself." That became his new refrain. And though his circumstances didn't instantly change, something in Biff began to shift. The frustration that once ruled his heart began to give way to a quiet assurance. He began to see that spiritual growth often happens not when life gets easier, but when dependence deepens. Little faith looks inward and wavers. Mustard seed faith, though little also, it looks upward and endures. The difference lies in where the heart leans. If you find yourself like Biff sitting at the table of self-doubt, remember this: Christ does not despise small faith. He transforms it. He takes what seems insignificant and fills it with His power. The seed only needs to be planted in the right soil. Christ's sufficiency, not your own.